Hey, marriage is either going to slow you down or launch you forward. In today's episode of Leveraging Success, Heather and I talk candidly about love, purpose, Valentine's Day wins, and one unforgettable fail. This is a behind the scenes look at marriage, leadership, and why doing life together matters. Hey, so today we're on an episode where I've got the beautiful, the distinguished Heather Gerhardt here with me today to talk a little bit about Valentine's Day. And it's really going to be more of a discussion, not just about Valentine's, but really about how we come together in purpose and how Valentine's Day fits into that. We'll get to discover together. But first, what I thought is that we would have a discussion telling you a little bit about our background with Valentine's Day. Because Heather, maybe we could talk about some of the funny moments that happened with Valentine's Day. And you know, when I talk about funny, when it comes to Valentine's Day, probably what am I going to talk about?
You're going to talk about loves.
Yeah, loves.
Yeah.
we can't not laugh about this because for us, for me, it took me a little while not to be haunted by it, honestly.
Which is totally you. But I think now that we've had several Valentine's Days together, you are exceptional at choosing restaurants for Valentine's Day. That one was maybe our first or second.
Maybe first married?
Yeah, I think first or second married Valentine's Day. And
it's pre-kids, so I'm going to say it's going to be the first.
It must have been. I was pregnant, I believe.
That sounds right to me.
I mean, yes, I would say I was. But you just thought that the name, I think, well, you can explain what you were thinking of why it was, I mean, it's romantic.
What were you thinking, Jeff?
I mean, what were you thinking? No.
Okay, here's the story. So I was looking for a place for us to go to dinner on Valentine's. And so this is back in the days where it was the Yellow Pages. I mean, truthfully, I used the Yellow Pages to find a restaurant. We were both living on campus at California Baptist University, young married. And if we had a nickel between us, it was because I found something in the couch cushions, not because we'd saved. There was no money saved.
Yeah.
We had hardly anything, but I thought, okay, let me find someplace. So with my finger in the Yellow Pages, I'm going down what I thought were restaurants. And any of you on the West Coast or probably west of the Mississippi, when I say that we went to Love's, you think, wait a minute, Jeff, that's not what you think it is. That's right. It wasn't what I thought it was. So I made plans for us to go to Love's for Valentine's.
They had ribs.
Well, so
Fancy.
for those that need to be let in on what we're talking about, Love's is a truck stop. And so I thought, all right, well, it's Love's. It sounds like it's a restaurant where love happens. So I take you.
It was lovely.
Yeah, well, I thank you for that, but I was mortified, truly mortified that we ended up at Love's. But you made the best of it, Heather. I mean, there's really something that of the many compliments I could make for you or about you is that you're not only forgiving, but you make the most out of whatever happens. And you didn't make it something like you idiot. But on the inside, I had the critic going pretty loud thinking.
I mean, I thought it was fun. I was not upset at all, by the way. I mean, the half circle booth, leather booth with the little button things on the, the back. A+.
I think we both had ribs. And
that's just what I remember.
Yeah, but it was definitely a truck stop. It was somewhat dimly lit, but I think that's just because they didn't have any lights.
Or they didn't want to show the dirt, maybe. Keep it dark, no one sees.
Yes.
What happens at Love's stays at Love's.
Well, that's a story not a lot of people hear because it's not my favorite. But for us in Valentine's, it seems to, on my, by the way, you never bring it up. It's always me saying, remember the time when, and you laugh about it. And it took a while for me not to cringe.
You were being too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Well, I wanted to adequately have a meal with you and show you how much I love you.
I
And
mean,
yeah.
what's more adequate than ribs at Love's? It's your heart.
We were in the wrong
ribs.
car, I tell you. We needed to be in a semi truck driving up.
That's
Should have been an
Hauling
air
diesel.
brake that went psh, as soon as we got to the parking spot. Yeah, yeah, no. But those were the days back at college. Maybe we could tell a little bit of our origin story, how we met, which there's always two stories to how people meet. But today's episode is really meant to talk a little bit about how important marriage is to purpose and calling. Ultimately, Heather, we say this in front of people often, that your spouse is either going to be a boat anchor for your calling, or they're going to be jet fuel. And truly, Heather, you've been jet fuel to what the Lord has done here, more than supportive, encouraging. And so all of those dynamics of what our marriage is and how it plays into what God does is pretty important. But let's go back. We're going to start back at the beginning and talk a little bit about how we met. So, Heather, I'll give you the microphone. How would you say that you and I met?
How we met. We met at church. I was living in San Diego. You had just moved there with your family and came to our church. My parents were the college career directors. And so that's back when most churches still had a Sunday school, we called it. We're really dating ourselves, really, here. But yeah, so we had a pretty dynamic college group for a church in Southern California that was 300 strong. We had about 50 college kids. And so we became friends. And eventually we came to a point where we were going to sing a duet. And so you asked me if we would sing a duet for the rest of our lives. No, that didn't happen. But to sing a duet, and we went to rehearse that duet, and then we got done, and it was a Friday night, and we had nothing to do. So we went miniature golfing and played air hockey.
Well, we also had a pretty good dinner.
We did have a good dinner. Yes, okay, I skipped
A restaurant I got right.
You got that right. We went to Hunter's Steakhouse. We went from ribs to steak. No, I actually went from steak to ribs.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so I think you asked me, because we were going to meet on a Friday night to rehearse, if we wanted to grab dinner beforehand.
Yeah.
I think is what you said. And grabbing dinner, I thought meant driving through a drive-through, like McDonald's or something. And you took me to a steakhouse, which was like that was the restaurant that my parents went to for a special occasion. Like, this was not even a Sizzler steakhouse, right? It was nice. And so I was a little bit surprised. And we ended up talking that night, not about each other, but about, what did you want out of life? Did you want children? Where would you want to live? Just sort of things that a couple would talk about, even though we weren't actually a couple. But I think by the end of the night, we were pretty much a couple.
Yeah, you were definitely already on my radar. And so you didn't know it was a big setup. We were going to have an amazing meal. I was going to interview you, just like I'm doing right now.
Yes, it did feel like an interview. How many kids do you want? What are you doing in life? Where are you going? What are your plans?
What do you want in a husband?
Right.
Theoretically.
Name your top 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a great start for us because we laughed a lot. We enjoyed dinner. We were doing what we loved, which for the better part of maybe the first 15, 20 years of our marriage, we spent a lot of time in music, worship music, and all sorts of music that was very, very, integral. I would say even it was a part of our purpose. I think that part of us, I don't know that we ever said it, but for me, it was like, you're talented and we both love music. Let's do this together as sort of the thing where we love to do this both for Jesus and we love doing it.
Yeah, well, and I do think that it doesn't have to be music, but I think that the fact that we had a shared ministry purpose, even at that young age of 19. It helped us to serve together. Like, I was not serving in a Sunday school off somewhere and you were out in a parking lot somewhere. We chose to do something together. And I think that was really beneficial to our marriage.
Yeah, we never stopped even when we had little babies, our baby girls. They were in their
We're in
little car seats.
at
Yeah,
rehearsal.
yeah, every Wednesday, Thursday night,
Yeah.
getting ready for the weekend. So they were sort of baptized into that immediately, get involved with us.
Yes.
Didn't have a
Go
choice.
figure, they're doing it now on their own.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how we got started. But really, it was a long journey of that version of us. And I think we tell people often that you're married to 3, 4, 5 or more different people if you stay together for a while. And now that we're over 3 decades married, there's been versions of me, versions of you. And I think back to, Jeff before, Jeff during the, college days, going to Loves for Valentines, to who we became slowly over time until the master's program. Would you talk a little bit about, and I mean the way that you would talk about those years before the master's program, really unvarnished. How did you see who I was and what our marriage was before we started that process?
Before the master's program?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we were living a pretty typical Christian marriage family life in America, at least. We went to church every Sunday. We served on the worship team. We hosted a small group. We had our kids in VBS and camps and, Wednesday night youth and all of that. We were doing all of that. You had Tuesday nights with the girls when they were teenagers. I forget what you called it. Tuesday night ice cream, where they got ice cream every Tuesday night, but there was a topic of discipleship that you would talk to them about, just culture and life and them growing up. So I would say, we were doing pretty good as far as what the average Christian family looks like. But I think going to the master's program sort of flipped that all on its head. And we realized there was so much more that we believed God was calling us to. And that was really, there was more required even of being an actual disciple and follower of Jesus. So I think there's a before TMP version of our family and a post version that looks significantly different, even though I wouldn't say it was like ashes to, it wasn't like we were in turmoil before and then now we're not.
Yeah. Well, I think there is a certain amount of tension that comes with both ambition as well as what you're hoping for in your marriage. In other words, I was ambitious. I wanted to take on things and grow. Early in our marriage, we had opportunities to get things started, like the opportunity to go to work at a healthcare network that had a financier that wanted to get a .com going, and everybody wants a .com. And so in those days, so we were jumping out, saying yes to some things early on, and there were serendipitous moments where, introductions to and invitations to, and the next thing you know, we're in Europe, living there in our 30s for a short period. And there was always this sort of tension and balance between ambition, marriage, juggling. And for me, in the early days, we seemed to have rising responsibilities, rising with you, with our children growing and family at home, rising with me as my career demands were growing. It was interesting to watch that continue to grow. How would you say we did it? What were some of the things in your mind that kept us together in those family building, career building years?
Well, I think first and foremost is that, there was never an option of not staying together. Marriage was not a contract, it was a covenant. and we took that seriously. And so it wasn't a contract, it wasn't a commitment, it was a covenant. And so it meant that through thick and thin, we were going to stay together.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't mean that it was easy all the time, but there was just, when you know that there's no getting out of it and there's no going back. If you're in conflict or in a difficult season in your life, you decide we're either going to change and grow and work our way through it, or we're going to be miserable. But there's no exit plan. And I think that that's the problem a lot with marriages, is that they just take the easy exit, even though divorce isn't easy, but it feels easier than staying in the middle of it and really working through it. But for those of the people who do work through it and get through it and past a difficult time, you are stronger than ever, better together. You persevere and you realize that you have this partner that is going to be there for you always. And that, for me, as a wife, is very comforting, that when the next trial comes, I know that I've gotten through one with someone and you're going to be at my side in the middle of it. And there's something very sweet and comforting and secure and safe about that I wish everyone would go through and realize that the grass is really not greener on the other side. It really is greener where you water it. And so I think that, those building years, it's hard. Your focus is sort of diverted a little bit, because I'm focused on, family, home, kids, and you're focused on career. And that can tend to separate you mentally and all of that. And so you have to be pretty intentional in staying connected.
Yeah. I think there are two things that come to mind that were really interesting for us. I don't know where it happened, but somehow we agreed, we made some pact that we were never going to say the D word to each other, or even try to even use the word in context, because it would normalize divorce.
Right.
And we had a moment 4 or 5 months into our marriage where we didn't say the word, but the eject, or the look, this isn't going to work out, was on the table.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we sat up till 2 a.m. and we both told each other we made a mistake.
Yeah. And, well, young and dumb, whatever you want to call it. The thing was, yeah, naive. That part's really true. But we were naive, but we were sitting there and I had to adjust. I had to decide I had to be a different person, or I was going to have a quick failure. And that was the beginning. And the truth of the matter is that wasn't the only time that we got up to this is really difficult, and I had to adjust. But that was the early day of realizing that I couldn't stay the same. And so the other part of the things that I think kept us together actually was the music ministry that we did together, because we both, you actually had some career, you're primarily family, and you also had primary career, and I had family and I was participating in that. But we had this thing that we were doing through the week and on weekends that we were routinely committed to, that its purpose was bigger than us. We weren't paid for often, and whenever we were paid for, it was minuscule. It wasn't much. It was not going to feed a family. Which reminds me of my favorite worship minister's joke, right? What's the difference between a pizza and a worship minister? Is that a pizza can feed a family of 5.
No offense to all worship leaders out there.
Back in that day, there wasn't many opportunities unless you were incredibly gifted, and I was not. I was good enough for us to lead worship. And so what we were doing, though, having that purpose, we weren't finding time for it. It was part of our routine. Same thing with dating. It wasn't an option. It was a routine. But to be clear, there have been milestones where we walked up to them, and I think primarily me really walking up to them and saying, is this going to work? Why am I in this? And it really was because marriage is about, for me, it's been about giving up for the sake of, not giving up on each other, rather, but saying giving up on my preferences, giving up on always getting my way, and being in a serve you before you serve me. That doesn't make me perfect, because I have rebelled against that feeling thought often at points. And so commitment to never saying the D word, as you say, well, covenant, has been a part of this journey, and not making family dating and having purpose that mattered as a side dish. It's always been a part of what we've done.
Yeah, it's always been a priority.
Yeah. So how do you think marriage has shaped the way that we lead? When I think about leadership, I think about the way that we invite people to come along. How do you think it's shaped your leadership and the way that you're currently pouring into women today, our marriage?
Yeah, well, we reached a point, I think it was maybe about 10 years ago, when we turned 40, it was like, okay, we've had all of these great couples and families pouring into us, and we've been learning from them and being mentored by them. And now we feel like we've been married at that point 20 years. It's time to reverse that and start pouring into younger marrieds and even other married couples that are our age. And so for me, I love pouring into wives. I don't feel a calling to single gals necessarily, although have no problem speaking with them. But just speaking into other women and speaking into what I believe God has taught is godly marriage. Not that we get it right all the time, because we don't, but we can certainly learn from all the times we've gotten it wrong. And also teach all the times that we've gotten it right. Because I would say that one of the biggest tragedies that a lot of marriages go through is they stop dating each other. They stop, now you're married, we don't have to date each other. Or maybe there's an occasional date once every 3 months. And some people might look at our marriage and think that Valentine's Day occurred 3 times a month, every month. And because you and I, especially you, have taken the reins on this so much more than I have. Dating me is a priority. And the restaurants, except for Lowe's, right, have been, exquisite places for no reason. And I actually love that when we've gone to a place, and not that we go out to extravagant places all the time, but just we'll go for no reason. And the server will ask, "Are you celebrating anything?" And all those times you're like, we're celebrating being in love. We're celebrating being married. I mean, we didn't.
Because I wanted a free dessert.
Oh, well,
Work
my
the
point
system.
is just
Work the system.
Never mind. No. Yes, but I mean, just to be able to go out and say we're here for no reason, and it's a Thursday night, and we're dressed up and going out on a date, and that is it seems maybe insignificant from the outside looking in. I think it's really significant to remember why you fell in love and the things that you did when you were dating to pursue one another and to make the other one feel special and wanted. And I think those things just can get very lost in the mundane day-to-day of marriage and parenting and life and all of that. And so I love speaking into women and sort of teaching them the things that have just really made things sweet in our marriage, and then the things that we've learned from.
One of the things I've seen in you and in us as a result of our marriage shaping leadership has been that we're really committed to hospitality and humor. Those two things are the 2 H's, Heather, hospitality, humor, 3 H's. But those real 2 H's of,
trifecta.
Yeah, our values here when we bring people over, we want them to experience a wonderful setting with which they can have an encounter with God and a deeper thought about their life, to be lighthearted and laugh and enjoy themselves. And that, I think, for us wasn't there at the beginning exactly, but it just sort of shaped and grew in leadership through our marriage, because really our marriage has been about hospitality in each other, caring for each other, providing for each other, and then laughing a lot. Like last night, I won't tell all the details how much you had me laughing, where I think I was making the bed shake because of the joke you were telling me last night, which is not appropriate for the air.
No, it
But
is my goal to make you laugh at least once every day.
you do.
So,
In fact, I was telling some men over the weekend that is one of the joys of our marriage, is that you make it your goal to make me laugh every day. I think, by the way, you've accomplished today's work while we've been sitting here. But that humor and hospitality have been really close to what's made the leadership style of when you're with Jeff and Heather. These are two feelings that you're going to
yeah,
get.
and I think we learned that. We were taught that, especially from our great friends, the Ryersons.
Yeah.
They
Truly, hospitality.
they were constantly having us young couples over all the time. Their house was always open. You know, I could have shown up there anytime unannounced and they would have welcomed us in. We didn't, but we could have. And I mean, their house was just always open and they were always hospitable. There was always a lot of laughter, a lot of food, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it just made us feel like part of a community of married couples with kids. And so I think that impressed upon me that when we were then able to start to do that with others, it was fun, and it made other people feel welcome, included, part of a community. And you know, communities that can do life together, they hold each other up. It's iron sharpening iron. It's encouragement and building one another up, and then helping each other when there's difficult times. So, love that. Thanks, Ryersons.
Yeah, for sure. We've had some incredible mentors who we would call, spiritual mothers and fathers, and big brothers, big sisters who have poured into us. And those are a couple of people, marriage-wise, that had some big impact on us.
Yeah, I think that one thing I just heard was, if you're a young married and you want to know how to do it right, walk into your church, find a couple that's got some gray hair that's holding hands, and maybe during the service he puts his arm around her, and walk up to them after service and say, "Hey, we want to know how to do marriage right. You look like you're doing it right. Can we take you to lunch?"
That's good.
And then just build a relationship with someone who's older than you, who's been married and done it a long time, and do what they do.
Mm-hmm. Let's shift gears into stress, because
I don't want to.
yeah, right.
Why?
It's the part of things that we don't get to escape. Bad times come, challenges come, opportunities for growth. We've had those seasons. I would say even perhaps the last 12 months may have been the most difficult of our marriage and life. And that's not as if it's the first time we've had trouble or difficulty, but we're back in that. And someone used to say to me, I can't remember who it told me, hey, when the seas are calm, just prepare, because they're going to get stormy again. You're just in between. And we aren't back to calm seas or anything, but we've seen those happen over and over again. Could you talk a little bit about what are the things that anchor us in relationship, specifically in our dynamic, to be able to handle some of that stress? What are your go-tos, or what do you see us doing as go-tos to handle the difficult times?
Yeah, because I feel like even when we say this is our hardest time now, it's not even with each other, but there's a lot of external things that can come in, stressors that can destroy a marriage, even if it has nothing to do with you as a couple,
Yeah.
In your relationship. And so you have to be really aware of that the outside attacks can affect you as a couple if you are not pretty intentional. And I think in this last time especially, it's been a lot of scripture. It's been praying together at night. It has been, one person. We don't tend to, fall apart. Not fall apart, but sometimes one of us is having a worse day than the other, and so recognizing that. And I know that one time you've come to me and said, "Hey, if you feel like you're, not doing well, or you need something, or you need help, you need to come." You need to come to my office and let me know. I need to be able to be there for you. And so just recognizing the other person's day and how the demeanor is and how they're feeling, talking about it, going out on dates, getting away, to have some time just together, even in the midst of, you feel like you can't get away necessarily because there's so much going on and you have to tackle all of these things. But even just if it's one night, overnight, something where you can just get away from it and just connect with each other, I think that's been a good thing. And oddly enough, I think we've rewatched The Chosen about 3 times. And not because that's, uber biblical. It's obviously a take on the Bible, but it's something that's edifying. It's something that's in our home. It's like having worship music being played in your home. You're turning off worldly stuff, even if there's nothing wrong with a show, like having something that's purposely a something that would be honoring to the Lord. I feel like that has made a difference in the home.
We've done a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those stressful times can be a yo-yo where one of us is up, the other one's down,
Right.
and we're trying to counterbalance without being like, hey, I'm up right now. Why can't you be happy? Or, hey, I see you happy. Come down and be sad with me. And matching each other emotionally really is important. I think that you do a great job at helping me when I'm down and being an encouragement, and not just trying to slap, change your mind, but, crying when we need to cry together, laugh when we need to laugh together, and really trying to match the emotional needs the other one has in those moments. It's been important.
Yeah, and I think a couple of things too is speaking truth to the situation, speaking truth to our thoughts, because Scripture says that we take every thought captive and bring it under the authority of Christ. And the reason that we do that is because the enemy will lie to us, and our own thoughts will penetrate and lie to us. And so we need to speak truth to each other and to ourselves of what is actually true of the situation, and what can I rest on in that truth. And then I think another thing is that the enemy loves to get people in isolation. And so being very careful of who you choose to bring into your inner circle, because this is not a gossip session. This is not a rant on my husband or my kids or whatever's going in my work. It is someone that I can go to and that you can go to, other couples, where we can say, we are struggling in this area with each other, with our kids, with their career, with calling, whatever it is. And, would you be a sounding board to speak godly wisdom back to us? And I want a woman who, if I go to and I complain about you, she's going to reprimand me. Like, you shouldn't be complaining about your husband to anyone. But if you're looking for advice on, hey, how do I navigate something because we're struggling, and then them giving you godly advice is really important. So who you choose to surround yourself, and let some people in to help you, and don't try and just fix it all on your own.
Let's go a little bit deeper and talk about the hardest seasons that we've experienced, trying to bring out some of our deepest lessons. I have an opinion on what might have been the darkest and most difficult time of our marriage. For instance, I would say that the most difficult season quite possibly was the last year of Switzerland and the beginning of return to California, and the difficulties that were there. There were some key lessons for me, and while we're giving shout outs to some people like the Ryersons, someone who impacted me deeply was Pastor Brian Smith, who discipled me for many, many mornings on Friday morning, very early, disciplining memory verses and reading scripture, reading books. And he used to tell me and help me to see, the Proverbs calling out, that cheating on your wife is like a lamb to the slaughter. Those people give away control of their life. They give up the ability to live a life with infidelity. And that always resonated because he made that a very clear picture for me. And then I saw him counsel someone going through that, and it just left an important mark on me, one. And then two, being back and centered around what do I really want, even when it's difficult. I had a business mentor that told me directly, Jeff, the biggest mistake I ever made in my life was getting divorced. And so I go back to those hard times and thinking about our commitment was really the undergirding of making a marriage work, is that whole Winston Churchill never, ever, 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 ever quit. And it's hard. It's dang hard, not because you made it hard, but because these forces of my flesh, the culture, and the enemy want to see marriage fail. And so our marriage actually is a reflection of Jesus's love for us, is that he was so committed to his calling to die for us. And our marriage is committed to die for each other. And just what I've learned, even in moments where I wanted to take off my wedding ring, or moments where I thought that my needs were most important, and I was gonna live a life not getting the things that I wanted to. I could have easily pissed it all away. I could have given it all away just because I thought that my needs were more important. But this difficulty has been the greatest gift that Jesus has ever given me. The difficulty of saying no to myself, not being married to you, the difficulty of saying my needs cannot trump this marriage, and always committed to loving you. It has been so rewarding. And so I can think of these difficult times and the lessons, and I can't not thank God for the people that have coached us. Your parents have been amazing coaches to our journey, to stay in the fight even when it's really tough.
Yeah, and I think too, like that time in our lives, it's very easy to, be inward focused and real, but without realizing that the other person is also feeling kind of the same way.
Yeah.
That the other person's hurting, that the other person isn't feeling, cared for or appreciated, or, whatever it is that you're feeling. You just think it's all me, and that they're doing just fine. I mean, I've thought in those times in Switzerland that you were doing just fine and living your best life, and I was the one that was miserable and stuck in this foreign country and at home stuck. And while I was at home stuck and those things were true, I wasn't factoring in really any of how you were feeling, because I was so miserable being there. And, you may have been doing that too, where you were just feeling like I wasn't, appreciating that we were there, or whatever was going on. But you tend to not take a walk around the other side and see from the other person's perspective when you're in the middle of the pain. And so I think that's one of the things that I've learned through marriage, is to not always just look at how am I feeling, how does it make me feel, but what could you be feeling in the same situation, and how can I then adjust to understand, and listening to understand instead of listening to respond or defend. Listening to understand is not something that I do well every time, but something that I'm working on and trying to make sure that it's not about me.
All right, we're going to wrap this up with a couple of questions. First question we'll both share.
Will you marry me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
I didn't have to think about it. You just shocked me.
I know. You paused there for a second.
Like, wait a second. What is she asking me? Is she
You
tricking
said
me?
questions.
Here's the question. Here's the first question. What's one piece of advice that you'd like to give if anyone comes to you and says, Heather, tell me your best marriage advice? What's your advice?
So the Sunday school answer is, which is what everyone said to us when we got married, and that is, do you know?
What everyone said.
Everyone says.
Everyone said, don't get married. I mean, this is the truth.
That's true. They were like, you're 19, you're stupid.
Don't get married.
No, it was, put God first. Put God first in your marriage. Everybody says, put God first in your marriage. And no one explains what that means. And that is the number one best answer and best advice that I can give. But that means denying yourself, taking up your cross, following Jesus, and loving like him. And that is a sacrificial love that says, you before me. That says, when you wake up in the morning, what's one thing I could do for my spouse that will just bless them today? And even if it's just, I'm going to make them laugh, or, I'm going to take the trash out when it's normally the other person that does it, but I see it there, I'm taking it out. Like, just something small where you're just blessing the other person. So I think that would be the best advice, but also is to get mentors who've been through it before and ask them questions. Ask them what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? How do I change? And do not listen to the culture and the world for advice.
Here's my one piece of advice. Have a dream and keep living into it. We've been talking here recently that it's time for a little dream maintenance. We're good about dreaming, helping other couples to dream. Our season is going to change again soon. And so dream maintenance is one of the themes for this year. And it's been important for us to have something out in front of us to aim into, because then we have a purpose towards things. And that, Heather, has been as simple at times as we've got a vacation. Let's get a beach body together for a vacation. That's a dream to be aiming for.
There is always that dream.
I want to take my shirt off. But then there's also the bigger dream, and that we're living in one of our dreams right now, and continuing to have that off onto the horizon. What's the next dream? What's the next thing? That I think that has been important and vital to sustaining
For
us.
sure. And that dream with each other is more important than your kids. And I think that is really hard, especially for moms. But your husband is more important than your kids. Your wife is more important than your kids. Their lives do not revolve around, your life does not revolve around your children. Their lives revolve around our plan while they're in our home. And then they leave and go out and do their own thing. And so having those dreams keeps you connected and in love and intentional together. Don't wait till the kids leave and then you go, I'm an empty nester, I have a roommate, because we didn't have dreams together. And we always say around here that the moment that all of your memories become more compelling than your future, you've gotten old.
Yeah, truly.
And so I will be 95 and not be old.
Let's go. Let's go.
I may not look it, but I will feel it.
All right. For those of you who hung on to the end, we have a quick surprise for you. Heather,
You do?
yeah, here's what we're going to do. We are going to tell the camera who our favorite child is. Now, what you're going to do
Oh.
is you're going to, let's look
Are
at each other
any
first.
of our 4 children?
Yeah, don't wait. But I know you're afraid. Just stay with me for a
They're not
second.
going to see this, are they?
Well, the favorite child who watches till the end is going to find out that they're our favorite child. And so here's how it's going to work.
Okay.
You're going to look at me and just think the name of your favorite child. I'm thinking of the name of my favorite child. And then what we're going to do is now look into the camera. Okay, you know who you are. You're her favorite child and my favorite child. You know who you are. And that's all that we're going to say.
It is pretty funny. Our children, one in particular,
Yeah.
who
Who shall not be named.
who calls, and every time I say hello, this one person says, "It's your favorite child." And usually I go, "I'm sorry, there's a bad connection. What's happening? Is this a prank call?" You know, and then the other ones just go, "I don't have to say it. We just know.
Because it just
It's, unspoken."
Hope you've enjoyed this time with us. God bless you. Happy Valentine's Day. Talk to you next time.
Hey, have 3 Valentine's Days this year.
Boom. Or
Start.
every month.
I mean, I'm just saying start somewhere. If you've only have 1, maybe have 3 and then, have 4 next year.
Okay, I'm going to kiss her. Turn off the camera.
Oh.
Bye. Marriage isn't built on perfect moments. It's built on commitment, grace, and a whole lot of learning along the way. If this conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or made you laugh, hit subscribe, like the video, and share it with someone you're doing life with. Whether you're newly married, years in, or still hoping, remember this: the right partnership doesn't slow you down, it strengthens you. This is Leveraging Success. Thanks for watching. It's time to gather. April 22nd through 24th in Dallas, the Priority Gathering brings together leaders ready to work on what matters most, their legacy. 3 days of world-class coaching with Bob Schenk, Rob Dayton, and me, Jeff Gerhardt. Hear from New York Times bestselling author Jason Jaggard and Middle East expert Tom Doyle. This isn't people speaking at you. It's coaching, conversation, and community with peers who sharpen each other. Whether you're an alumni or exploring the master's program for the first time, this is your moment. The Priority Gathering, April 22nd through 24th, Hotel Zaza, Dallas. Register now at theprioritygathering.com.